Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara. Episode 17. Shri Mahaswami, the Sage with Eyes of Light, the Diary of a Seeker of Truth, Dr.Serge Demetrian. Dear devotees, now we shall listen to the second part of this divine book under the subtitle The Pilgrim's House. Kanchipuram, October 1970. Kailasakon Waterfall. At the beginning of this month, Sri Mahaswami unexpectedly left Kanchipuram and started a Padayatra at short notice. He was accompanied by 3 or 4 assistants who pulled or pushed a specially equipped rickshaw. While he walked behind, it was an original vehicle, an ancient tricycle with a rear seat replaced by a wooden box. This bright red box with 3 arches that extend it in height was covered by a khaki tarpaulin. Its uses were multiple: a carrier for the baggage of the group, a protection against the crowd that could otherwise come too near Sri Mahaswami, a support for him and a shelter against the wind. Its scarlet color was advantageous for large vehicles to avoid the small cart on the road. Its bright color also helped the devotees to see it. Often, when the weather was rough or when he did not want to be seen, Sri Mahaswami concealed himself under part of the tarpaulin until only his legs were visible. This box could also be used as a sleeping space, as at the end of the tiny platform there was an extra lid which could be lowered so that the length of the floor was extended. Sri Mahaswami could lie on its tray by curling up to a surprisingly small size. The one condition was that the rickshaw be still for this to happen. Indeed, I have never seen nor have I heard that he allowed himself to be carried by a wheeled vehicle. The news reached me that Sri Mahaswami had arrived. It seems as his movements are unpredictable near to a waterfall, Kailasakon, a holy place which is some 80 kilometers north from Kanchipuram. I started from Madras in search of him, and on my way I stopped in Kanchipuram. At the mutt, I gathered what reliable news I could. Provided with all the details of my probable itinerary, I boarded a bus, and towards 11 o'clock I reached a point near Kailasakon. One had still to cover another 2 kilometers across the bed of a shallow river and then take a footpath through the forest. I discovered the scarlet box of the rickshaw parked under a tree on the edge of the wood. My information has been accurate enough to allow me to arrive almost simultaneously with Sri Mahaswami himself. I walked past the vehicle and tried to rejoin Sri Mahaswami, who was moving on to the waterfall. I found him standing by some tall trees and rocks. About 10 meters further on, I saw the bottom of the waterfall. He had just arrived and was receiving prostrations. While waiting my turn in line, I noticed a man clad in an impeccable ochre robe with a black beard, neatly combed, a resident of a local ashram, I guess. He does not even prostrate. It is my turn. An assistant introduces me. Demetrian. Sri Mahaswami waits, smiling, staring into the void, because from the distance where I am standing, he cannot see me. At that very moment, someone else, taking advantage of the space, infiltrates himself between Sri Mahaswami and me, a discourteous act contrary to traditional protocol. I stopped my prostration only to observe how Sri Mahaswami frowned at him. He did not see the individual, but he had felt that it was not the same as the one who was announced to him. I then finished my prostration. Almost immediately after this, Sri Mahaswami, carrying only his danda in hand, headed towards the base of the cascade, apparently to take a bath. The waterfall starts about 20 meters higher with a single wide stream which is quite large at the beginning. It then divides into 2 or 3 currents that cascade down over rocks, forming a number of stairs and platforms of unequal sizes. This natural arrangement breaks the shock of the water currents and allows the pilgrims to slip behind the multiple trickles and then to receive them on their body without danger. They stand with hands in Anjali while muttering prayers. For me, with no more time to lose, if I wanted to follow him, I had to act quickly. I got undressed, wound round my waist a short cloth I had ready, and after having shoved my clothes higgledy-piggledy in a bag while running, dropped it at the foot of a tree and hurried to the waterfall. Sri Mahaswami was already there. He nimbly strolled along a footpath between the stones and chose a quiet high spot. Then, gripping his danda in both hands, he stood fully dressed under a stream of water. I had followed him at close quarters and found a place just below him. In this way, I could collect on my head the water that had touched his body. He stood there for 3 or 4 minutes, apparently impervious to the cold, unlike me, for I soon had to retire because the thick forest had obstructed the rays of the sun and I was chilled to the bone. By good fortune, I recovered my abandoned bag which contained a towel and dry clothes. Sri Mahaswami came slowly out of the cascade, his clothes drenched with water. He went to a makeshift shelter which his assistants had prepared for him to change. I saluted him from afar, turned around and made my way to the main road at a very quick walk to warm myself up. From there I took a bus which brought me back to Kanchipuram the same afternoon. Sometime later I was told that Sri Mahaswami had commented upon my exploit. This Demetrian has followed me to Kailasakon and took a very cold bath. It is almost positive he did not physically see me, but he felt that I have been there. Kanchipuram, November 1970. Offerings to the Guru. For the last 3 months, a persistent question occupied my heart as to whether I am permitted to consider Sri Mahaswami as my Guru. I cannot ask him about this in public, nor talk about my doubts with friends, as I hold this question as being the most intimate of my life. After mature thinking, I decided to resort to a stratagem. I knew already that in olden times a master called to himself the aspirant chosen to become his disciple by ordering him, "Bring firewood, my friend. I will initiate you as brahmachari as you have not parted from the truth." Indeed, the disciples who lived near the house of the master or under the same roof had the mission requiring the utmost trust to see to the fire in the house and especially the ritual fire that was necessary for worship. I had already observed that a fire of wood was kindled in the places where Sri Mahaswami resided, from came the wood. Mr. Kannaya Chetty, my friend and public relations cum information officer in Kanchipuram, declared, "The wood is furnished by the mutt if no donation has taken place. So there are wood donations, evidently, and besides, they are well received," declared my friend. Prudent and diplomatic, Mr. C. Chetty sounded out the entourage of Sri Mahaswami to find out if an offer of wood would be acceptable. The reply was positive. The wood store was nearby. The cool season had started, so it was a good time for this sort of donation to be made. I also bought for Sri Mahaswami a good shawl of fine wool from the Khadi craft store. I prepared myself for a darshan. On the chosen day, the darshan was fixed for 10 o'clock in the morning. 1 hour before I bought, with the help of my friend, the quantity of wood which could be contained in a two-wheeled cart, pulled and pushed by two strong, strapping lads, happy to serve a worthy undertaking. The darshan will take place in the small yard near the southeast entry of the pilgrim's house. I stopped the vehicle on the nearby street in sight of the pilgrim's house, and Mr. Chetty informed Sri Mahaswami that I had come. Sri Mahaswami came out almost immediately. In spite of the coolness, he wore only his thin ochre cloth. He did not look either at the shawl nicely folded on a basket I kept in hand or the overloaded chariot which blocked the entry towards the street. However, I think I discerned the hint of a discreet, knowing smile on his lips. I prostrated in front of the stairs while he was still on the threshold. Usually, I kept the offerings on the threshold itself as he stayed inside in the hall. This time, I did not know how to continue as he gestures that he wanted to come down the stairs, at the bottom of which there was a very small garden about 2 by 3 meters in area. He came out of the chowltry and sat facing southwest. He asked that a mat should be brought for me and requested me to sit down in front of him. He had never acted this way during the usual offerings. This time, Sri Mahaswami knew well the sense of my gift and wanted to give the occasion a solemn air. Mr. Kannaya Chetty is the interpreter. Demetrian wants to offer to Sri Mahaswami this quantity of firewood, explained my friend, while showing him the cart. Sri Mahaswami turned his hand to the cart, then to his chest. He repeated the gesture towards me as if to say, I accept your offering and I accept you also. I placed the basket in front of him. Mr. Chetty said, Demetrian offers to Sri Mahaswami a woolen shawl as we are in the cold season. Sri Mahaswami laid a hand on the water vessel he had kept on the ground, tilted it, gathered a few drops and sprinkled the shawl in order to purify it. He acts this way with all the clothes that are offered to him for his own use. He then took the shawl and kept it on the left shoulder, showing he accepts it and he will wear it. He once again turned his open right hand towards me and then touched his chest. Sri Mahaswami stayed a long moment with his eyes closed. Then he sighed. His lips murmured a while. For some moments, I saw him losing his contours and being replaced by a grey cloud hardly denser than vapor, just what is necessary to maintain a human form. A very subtle, light and luminous current came from him, gently touched my head and impregnated me. I profoundly sighed. He took back his ordinary shape and through loving gestures, he showed that he had taken charge of me. He waited for me to finish the departure prostration, got slowly up and turned towards the murky hall from where he had emerged. While passing by really close to me, I felt penetrated by a luminous, ethereal, perfumed draught. Before melting with the darkness, he turned once again towards me for a second. Dear devotees, let us close this episode and shall continue to listen to the second part of Sri Mahaswami, the sage with eyes of light, in the coming episode, bowing at the holy feet of the Gurus. Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara.